From Pod World headquarters, this is the Carolina Insider from Learfield.
We're back. Time for another edition of the Carolina Insider. Jones and Adam here with you with a massive show coming your way. We're talking Carolina Louisville. Adam's blood pressure just now lowering to the point that he can have a conversation about the game. We're going to talk Carolina Duke. We have double story times. We have a user-submitted awesome I don't even want this. We have an incredible interview with Jackie Manuel. Adam, what else do we have?
What day is it?
That's right, Adam. We have a 5-second challenge. You're right. And there's only one day, as Adam alluded to, that could handle this much goodness. Only one day will open its arms and say, bring me all of this Carolina Insider deliciousness. That day is Friday.
It's Friday, Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend, partying, fun, looking forward to the weekend.
Oh, Adam, what a show we have. This a show. Tuesday, that was a good show. Our week of shows has been good. Take that this week.
Worthy of Carolina Duke week.
Yeah, it is. Has been. What a bonanza. Really looking forward to you hearing this Jackie Manuel interview, too. I'm just now getting Adam back down off cloud 9 after talking to Jackie. Adam was like, oh, Jackie was so good. He was so good.
It took me like an hour to decompress from his goodness.
Yeah, that's right. Think you'll all just feel better. Plus, who doesn't like hearing from Jackie Manuel? We all do.
He's firmly in the category we've talked about before, and we may have even said this before. If I encountered someone and they were like, I don't know how I feel about that Jackie Manuel guy, I'd be like, well, we're not friends then.
Yeah, guess you need to leave.
Yeah. I mean, I 100% will never be friends with you if that's how you feel. We're that fundamentally different.
Yeah. So it is a good one, and it's coming up here in just a little bit. First, though, a reminder. LS Tractor. Don't let your outside chores or projects cause you to miss any Tar Heel game action. That is whether maybe you need to mow it, perhaps till it. Could you need to move it? We'll let LS Tractor help make short work of it. Current offer, you know what it is. You know what it is. It's a free loader with the purchase of a tractor. Visit lstractorusa.com to learn more. LS Tractor, now you can do more for less. Adam, let's go back to Tuesday night. Tar Heels and Louisville.
Hold on, let me put on my Kevlar.
Yeah, that's right. Put your helmet on. Carolina and Louisville. Tar Heels win it in overtime, 90-83. And Adam, what a unique game it was. The Tar Heels withstood some hot shooting by Louisville early, had a small lead at halftime, dominated the first 10 minutes of the second half, led by 10 with about 11 minutes or so to go. And then Adam went through one of the poorer stretches of the season, quite honestly. I asked Coach Davis after the game what were some of the learning opportunities in that stretch, and he said shot selection and turnovers. And I think that's right. Those two things were not good in that stretch. That gave Louisville an incredible amount of momentum. Eventually, they stretched it out to a 17-3 run, led by 4. Game kind of went back and forth there with Brady Manick keeping Carolina afloat until the Heels went on a 7-0 run. Coming out of the 4-minute timeout, they took the lead, and then it was just absolute pandemonium, as if it hadn't been crazy enough up to that point. There were technical fouls. There were things thrown on the court. There were long reviews. There were questionable calls. Adam, it was it was like we were in a ring in a UFC fight with the crowd. And I said it during the game, the crowd, it was as if all the frustration for Louisville, ever since they found out what was happening on those recruiting trips a couple years ago, let's be honest, things haven't been great for Louisville since then. They've been through, this is now their fourth different coach since then. All the teams that they think they're as good as are much better than them. They had to take a banner down, which never happens. And it's like all the anger of all of that then came out in that moment. Because they felt like those referees and that other team they were personally responsible for trying to hold Louisville down. And Adam, it was the only time I have been at a game where I really thought they may need security at this game. Like, there's always intense environments, but it's a sporting event. It was the first time I legitimately thought, I wonder if the Tar Heels are going to have a little security detail to get out of here. And were there some questionable calls? Yeah, but there were a lot of calls that could have been called in that game. And the Tar Heels were the benefit of a technical foul call when Armando Bacot was pushed down. Mike Pegues, the interim head coach of Louisville, made an interim head coach mistake of slapping the table so loud that it reverberated through the Yum Center. And look, when you do something that reverberates through the Yum Center, I think they need to change the name of the Yum Center. It's just, it doesn't have a lot of clout when it's called the Yum Center. I saw something on, as most people do, I was just hanging out watching the ACC network, and Joe Barry was talking about how awesome, I don't even know why, but he was talking about how he was from Florida and maybe didn't understand Carolina at the beginning, but then he was fully involved in the history of Carolina, and he talked about how he wanted to hang a banner on the left side and the right side. I mean, just Joel Berry being awesome per usual. Then they flipped to Luke Hancock in his, with his IKEA shelves on either side of him. I got no beef with Luke Hancock other than the IKEA shelves. And he goes, "Oh, Joel, that's great stuff. I felt the same way about wanting to hang some banners in the Yum Center." And it was just like, Yum Center. But anyway, I digress. Adam, did the Tar Heels do everything right in this game? No, they did not. But here's what they did do. They suffered an ugly stretch of play, self-inflicted. They suffered some high level of execution by Louisville. I think it was probably the best Louisville, certainly the best they've shot from three all year, probably the best they've played all year. They were in a hornet's nest of an environment, and they won the game. Never apologized for winning the game. And that's what the Tar Heels did. They needed it. They got it. On they move.
Yeah, what a different week it would have been if Carolina hadn't nudged that game into overtime and you lose it in regulation. This all feels very different. The intensity of the environment, not seen anything like that in the last 10 or 15 years.
Well, again, the Tar Heels play in loud, intense environments. This was like you were in a backyard wrestling match. Like not a sanctioned, not a sanctioned like WWE event where everything's under control. This is some dude down the road has brought some local stars in, and he's set up a ring in his backyard, and you go to watch that, and anything could happen.
It was very much Reynolds Coliseum or like Carolina Clemson when Rick Barnes was there, some of those games, or Cole Fieldhouse in Maryland. I think I've gotten on board with Louisville's the new Maryland.
Yeah, I believe that.
They're just so angry.
They really are angry.
About everything. They're just really mad.
Well, the fact that the water fountains shoot out bourbon doesn't help, I think, in the Yum Center.
Yeah, imagine Maryland with that level of lubrication. So It really was. I mean, at one point, I think when it became clear Carolina was going to win, it was to the point that I wrote you a note that said, "Don't shake hands, just get off the court," because I really thought leaving the court was going to be ugly, which it wasn't as bad as I thought, partially because the lead had opened enough that people had left, which I think was good. Remember that at Louisville, the students are in the end zone. Everybody thinks that everywhere in the world students are courtside. They're all in the end zone at Louisville, so the people closest to the benches are the adults.
Yeah, it was the adults that really – I mean, not that the students didn't do stupid stuff, but students are students. It was the 40-year-olds who were embarrassing themselves.
Yes. Here's the thing about the officiating, which everyone seems very upset about the Armando Bacot-Curry interaction that resulted in a foul on Curry.
Right.
From that freeze frame that everyone sent around, that clearly looked like a foul on Armando Bacot. It was a poorly officiated game from minute one.
Yeah.
And the tone became clear, much like in those Carolina-Clemson games, that Louisville's whole plan was to hang on to Armando Bacot and push him around and elbow him and use their backup center guy who was absolutely nothing more than a guy.
I mean, Adam, his jersey was ripped and his shoe blew out. Armando's.
Bacot, yeah. That was their plan. And it worked to the extent that Louisville kept themselves in the game. But the officials allowed that to be the plan, and that's what led up to those final minutes that everyone's so upset about. But do me a favor and go back and watch the first 38 and tell me that was an isolated incident of one poor call. It wasn't. Did Carolina get the benefit of that one? Might have. But there also were some others that they did not get the benefit of, and that's typically what happens in an ACC basketball game. That was some of the ACC's best officials.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Roger Ayers was there. That's the best ACC official. Everyone has an off night. This was that one. But in the end, the Tar Heels somehow figured out a way. You mentioned Brady Manick. He was huge in that game, and I feel like people have kind of overlooked it because Bacot was so good and then the way it ended. Brady Manick made some ridiculous shots when Louisville was doing their best to put it away with, of course. So does L. Ellis officially go on the list of North Carolina natives who later come back to have ridiculous games against the Tar Heels? I think he has to.
I mean, career high 25, career high 5 made 3-pointers. And I don't know. I mean, he had to have in one stretch gone 4 for 4 or something, 4 for 5. I mean, he hit a bunch in a row in a short amount of time.
In the type of performance that you've seen other guys have before against Carolina that won the game for their team. And Brady Manick wouldn't let him. He just came back making crazy shots. He made that one bank shot from the wing. That's a tough shot.
Yeah.
He made the shot from almost behind the backboard off an offensive rebound. That's a tough shot. He knocked in a couple threes. Great performance by him.
I thought he and Leaky Black were the differences in the game. You know, Leaky played 43 minutes. And in those 43 minutes, he did not miss a shot. He had 4 assists and no turnovers and played really good defense. Adam, I mean, he was great. And Brady was great. I mean, and Armand, I mean, the Tar Heels basically played 5 dudes in this game. And they all did something to help Carolina win. We'll talk about Caleb Love in a second. But Caleb did have an enormous 3 to start the overtime period and hit some free throws in unique circumstances that helped Carolina stretch the lead out. But I thought outside of Bacot, who we know has been 98% of the games, has been excellent and a double-double machine, I thought Manick and Black were the difference in this game for Carolina.
Who would have thought that in February we'd be talking about Leaky Black's clutch 3-pointers?
Yeah. Well, Adam, and I know this is easy for me to say, if he can go, 3 of 6 from corner threes and play great defense and do all the other stuff that Leaky always does, it is a game changer. If he can be a legitimate threat from that corner 3, which the last several games he has been. I mean, he didn't miss a shot, 4-4, and one of his threes was in overtime to give Carolina the lead. So just a terrific. The Leaky train was fully coaled up and was chugging down the tracks in this game.
think he still leads Carolina in assists to turnovers by
Yes,
a pretty healthy
easily.
margin.
Yes, he is by far the leader on the team, and if he had enough, he would be way up there in ACC standings as well. He just doesn't have enough to qualify by whatever the markings are.
So if teams
markers are, excuse me.
If teams do feel like they have to go out and honor that shot now, which I think at least now, if you're making an opposing scouting report, you got to at least say put a hand up. I mean, you don't have to blanket him like Brady Manick.
Right, but you also aren't Virginia Tech and putting Storm Murphy in the paint and not even guarding him.
And if that's what happens, if they go out and guard him, I think you trust him to make the right pass and find a teammate who's got a better shot.
Yeah, 4 assists. I believe the Tar Heels are now 10-0 on the season when he has 3 or more assists. Talking about Leaky Black. He was great, Brady Manick. And I know Leaky had some impactful things to say in the post game, and we have an email about that, and we talked to Jackie Manuel about that. So we do discuss all of those things, and Jackie's much better at talking about it than Adam and I would be. So you will hear about that. Adam, I go back to this. Don't apologize for winning, ever. Who cares what people say on Twitter? Doesn't matter. You won the game. I don't apologize for that. You won.
Well, and if you're a fairly recent Carolina basketball fan, you may not appreciate this is how Carolina became Carolina, winning games just like that one.
Yeah.
Go into some hostile place where everybody's really angry.
Take the best shot they have.
One of their guys plays out of their mind. They've got all the intangibles are on their side because they've got a new coach and their other coach is gone who they didn't really like anyway, and they're going to band together behind this guy, and they're going to come out and show these Tar Heels and get a big win. And somehow or another, Carolina walks out of there with a win. That is Carolina basketball. That is what made it the program we all love. They've been doing it for 50 years. So don't act like, well, that wasn't a clean enough victory for me to count. They all count, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. If you count beating BC when you shoot 29%, if you count beating NC State when you shoot 60% from 3, this one counts too. Adam, kind of the asterisk to this, though, from the Carolina perspective is it probably didn't have to get to this point. The Tar Heels were up 10 halfway through the second half, and not that that's an insurmountable lead, because obviously it isn't. But you were there, too. Carolina built that 10-point lead because they were absolutely smoking Louisville in the first half of the second half. After taking a good shot, as I mentioned, taking a good shot from Louisville in the first half, but fighting back into it, getting competitive, having a lead at halftime. And then Carolina, was terrific in that first 9-10 minutes of the second half. And then it was a very poor stretch. And it's never about one guy, but Caleb Love in particular had a difficult stretch. Missed, I think it was 4 or 5 shots in a row that he took and missed for Carolina. There were some turnovers in there and very clearly began to press. And we talked to Jackie Manuel some about this as well. Caleb did not have a good statistical game. He was 3 of 18. He did go 9 of 10 at the free throw line, had 6 assists as well, although he did have 4 turnovers. Caleb Love is clearly matured in his game and has taken steps forward as a sophomore than he did as a freshman. He is much more consistent. But this was a rough stretch for him and the team in total, and ones that have to go away because Carolina cannot compete at a high level without Caleb Love being the type of player that he can be, and that was not the best version of Caleb Love for that couple of minutes.
Yeah, you talked about that 10-point lead, not that it was insurmountable, but the thing about the 10-point lead was it felt like Carolina had built the 10-point lead and was about to stretch it out even more. I mean, Louisville was about ready to give up.
Yes.
But the Tar Heels let them right back in, and then they got a little confidence. And it wasn't Caleb Love's finest moments, and he would be the first one to tell you that. And part of the way you know that he knows was you could look at him on the court and tell that he knew, and especially once he missed the dunk, he was very frustrated. And we'll let Jackie talk more about kind of some of the in-game conversations he had with Caleb, but I legitimately think it's fair to say if Jackie Manuel hadn't been in Louisville on Tuesday night, I think Carolina probably loses that game because I'm not sure Caleb Love comes back to make the plays that he made. He had a couple nice passes. He had a real nice dish to Brady Manick for a dunk. I'm not sure he makes the plays he made if he doesn't get the perspective that he got that you'll hear Jackie talk about. And that's part of coaching. I mean, that's why you have a coaching staff, is to know how to connect with each guy when things are going well and when they're going badly. And sometimes that's somebody taking a clipboard and saying, all right, well, here's how they're defending you and here's how you can beat it. And sometimes it's somebody putting their arm around a guy and saying what Jackie said. So I just think that's part of coaching. And Carolina can't afford for Caleb Love to play that way on Saturday because they'll lose by 12. But there's nothing in his history to suggest that he will.
Right.
Because he's capable of doing much better, and we've seen him do it against Duke. And as discouraging as that stretch was, I think the way he came back to mostly be a positive impact, I know he had a couple turnovers that weren't great, but mostly a positive impact. I think that you have to be encouraged by that if you're discouraged by the other.
Well, the 3 to start the overtime was a big shot because Carolina won the tip, had the ball, and I always feel like whoever can punch first in overtime, that's a big deal. And for him to confidently take that shot and knock it in, big shot, and he goes 9 of 10 at the free throw line. And that's something that Eric has talked a lot about, and I agree with, is as Caleb Love, and I think RJ Davis is this way too, continues to mature, get to the line. They're both such good shooters there that you're going to get the points if you are aggressive, under control aggressive, not just wildly going to the rim, but under control aggressive, get to that line. And he goes 9 of 10. And, I mean, they were literally throwing things at Caleb Love while he was at the free throw line shooting those technical fouls. Not a hit, not like Caleb Love had done anything. He's just the best free throw shooter, and Hubert Davis rightly put him on the line to shoot those technicals. So, of course, he's going to be the guy there. And people are throwing stuff at him, and he knocks them in. So, I mean, yes, he made some big plays after what was, as we have said, and as I think he would say, not his finest 3-4 minutes.
I think you learned a lot about him in that overtime stretch, because just think about like what it felt like for us to be there in that environment. Like my heart rate was going up as all these things were happening, and it didn't look like his heart rate moved at all.
Yeah.
He was the exact same guy, and I think it says a lot about him that he even took the shot at the start of overtime, much less made it. A sizable percentage of basketball players, if you're sitting on like 2 for 15 or whatever, they're not taking that shot, first shot of overtime. And for the good and for the bad, Caleb Love got no problem taking that shot and got no problem knocking it in.
All right, anything else about Louisville? We'll move on to Duke if not.
No.
Okay, so now Tar Heels hosting Duke, 6 o'clock on Saturday, and big game. I mean, the Tar Heels find themselves now at 8-3 in the conference. Duke is 8-2. So as of this moment, Duke's 8-2, and then you've got Miami, Carolina, and Notre Dame at 8-3. So Tar Heels are right there in the mix. Of course, we know they've already played Miami and Notre Dame, lost both those on the road, and don't get them in Chapel Hill, which is a bummer. But it's how it broke out this year.
And don't get Wake.
Yeah, just negative break for Carolina that they don't get some of those better teams, a return trip from some of those better teams. So this is a big game. It's Duke, Carolina, so it's big. It's 2 teams at the top of the league, so it's big. It's one of the few legitimate chances for a really attention-getting quality win because Duke is good. That's big. The whole Mike Krzyzewski final year, Hubert Davis first year storyline you've got going on. Adam, there's just, as there always is, a lot around this game. Most times, this game is going to bring out a high level of play from both teams. And it'll be a terrific crowd in the Smith Center, hopefully not the Louisville type of terrific crowd, but a loud, intimidating crowd within the boundaries of society. And I'm looking forward to it, but it will be a big challenge. Duke's very good. I mean, if you followed the league this year, you know, I mean, Paolo Banchero is probably the most talented player in the ACC. I mean, he's 6'10" and tough and good and can rebound and can shoot and can score. Wendell Moore has taken steps forward here later in his career is having his best season. Trevor Keels, I know he's been shaken up, but he's another really talented freshman. Mark Williams is a legitimately good big guy down low and does the thing that Duke always asks their big guys to do, which is basically set screens and rebound and block shots, and he's good at that. So this is A.J. Griffin, another talented freshman. Jeremy Roach in his second year as a lead guard. Joey Baker there for the 800th year in a row. Theo John, who gave Carolina trouble as a member of Marquette last year, provides them some muscle in the paint when Williams isn't in. So this is a really good team. Tar Heels is going to have to play really well to win. It's Carolina Duke.
Yeah, Duke's good. And I think if you just look at them on paper, I think perhaps they have the advantage in the game, but the game's not being played there. It's being played in the Smith Center, which I think will make a big, big difference. I do think Theo John's important because he gives them a little bit of that snarl that sometimes you don't feel from Duke. Like you kind of feel like most years you can go right at him and maybe knock him back a little. I don't think you want to go right at Theo John. And Carolina learned that last year the hard way. So I think he's important. I think Carolina's got some matchup issues in this game just because of the way they all shake out, and Carolina is not very deep at the current time. I think it's beneficial that the Tar Heels played Tuesday and then got a day off Wednesday because that's how the NCAA rules fall. They've played a lot of minutes in the last 7 to 10 days. And so you needed a couple days off to really get back to be able to perform at the level you're going to have to perform, not for 30 minutes as they did against Louisville, but you're going to have to do it for 40 against Duke because if you take that little break, it's over. So be interested to see. I think it'll be interesting to see how Hubert Davis uses his team against Duke. Where does he feel like the advantages are? We know Caleb Love was great against them last year, and traditionally – if your point guard can go right at Duke, you are going to have some success, but usually Mark Williams isn't standing in there.
Right.
So I think that'll make a difference. Just interesting to see how he wants to do the defensive matchups because there's a couple different ways to do it, but not extensive personnel choices.
Yeah, it's interesting. Normally in this game, Carolina's the deeper team most times. Just in the way that Roy Williams chose to use his roster and the way Duke normally does. I mean, but those roles have kind of flipped this year where Carolina's – I mean, the Tar Heels likely aren't going to play more than 8 guys. I think we've learned that at this point. They've got their starting 5 and then McCoy and Walton and Puff Johnson. Now, you may see Dunn and Styles, maybe, but you've settled into that 8. Duke is going to use 8 guys pretty freely, at least their – history of this season suggests that, and that's whether or not Keels plays, I don't know, but that he would be included in that. So to you said you can't relax. That is one thing that Duke is very capable of going on a 12-2 run in about 50 seconds. They have the ability to be very explosive offensively. And so Roy Williams said this all the time, and I think you have to score against Duke. You just have to. Because they can score, because they've got talented guys. And so as good as Carolina's defensive numbers have been in the Smith Center, I don't think you can rely on scoring 62 points and winning this game. You've got to be able to put the ball in the hoop some way or another in this one.
And I think you're going to need – for Carolina to win, the Tar Heels can't score 0 bench points. You're going to need a Kerwin Walton or a Puff Johnson to give you 6 or 8 and give you that little boost, and you're not going to be able to score 0 fast break points. And Carolina got zeros in both those categories.
Yeah, I've questioned the Louisville scoring in that.
Well, it's hard to make notes about stats when you're dodging things going onto the court. That's what the numbers said. And whether the Tar Heels got 0 or 4, they're going to need to run it more effectively, whether that's by throwing the ball ahead or by pushing it with the dribble. They're going to have to do something to beat Duke down the court and get some easy baskets. Because I'll tell you what, Duke looked pretty good on defense against Notre Dame, a team that we know to be proficient offensively. And that surprised me a little because I just don't think of them in that way. But if they defend that way, it's going to be difficult to put it in the basket if you're playing in the half court every single time down.
Yes. I mean, just the stats. I mean, Duke's shooting 48% as a team. Other teams are shooting below 40 on average. Duke is shooting 36% from three. Other teams are shooting below 30%. They are out-rebounding teams by 4 on average per game. I mean, they get more than 7 steals and nearly 6 blocks. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. This is a really, really good Duke team. And so Carolina's going to have to play at a high level, which the Tar Heels are capable of, and winning this game for sure. But Duke's very good. Adam, anything on your mind about Mike Krzyzewski's last visit to the Smith Center? There seems to be some discussion like that Carolina said they aren't going to honor him in some way. And I guess some places have, and that's fine. But it doesn't bother me that they're not.
Well, Louisville gave him some bourbon or something. That's probably because they had some sitting on the scorer's table. And they're like, here, give him that.
Yeah.
But we'll just get some more. It's fine. Look, Carolina's not going to give him a gift. They are going to recognize that it is his last time in the Smith Center, as you would expect if Roy Williams had gone on a season-long farewell tour for them to do at Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Sure.
So that will be mentioned, and there will be recognition that it's occurring. But do you honestly believe that Mike Krzyzewski wants that? Does he want to walk to midcourt at the Smith Center and have Carolina give him a rocking chair or whatever? No, he would get booed if that happened. Rightfully so. That's what Carolina Duke is about, not about him as a person. That's the head coach of Duke at midcourt at the Smith Center. There's going to be boos. He doesn't want that. And so all the talk about it really perplexes me. Like, what did you want to happen? And it's two different things of saying the Tar Heels aren't going to wrap up a box with a little paper and a ribbon and give it to him, as compared to Carolina's not going to recognize that it's his last visit. They are going to do that. So I think it's been presented poorly in some ways to kind of try to reflect badly on Carolina when that's not the case. And let us all just understand that we realize Carolina has given Mike Krzyzewski a gift during his illustrious career. And I think if Jones and I had been making that decision, let me just speak for myself. If I had been making that decision, that is not what would have occurred.
Yeah.
But it did occur. So what else can you do?
You know what I would have done?
I still hear your voice when you sleep next to me. I still feel your
I'd brought the lights down a little bit lower in the Smith Center, Adam. And I'd have gotten on them and said, everybody be quiet for just a second. We got a special song to play. Da, 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 da. Here we go now.
I get this feeling, and every time we kiss, I swear I could fly. Can't you feel my heart beat fast? I want this to last. Need you by my side. 'Cause every time we touch, I feel the sky.
Coach K, that was just for you, buddy.
The closer we get to going to Cameron Indoor Stadium here in about a month, the more my skin crawls with anticipation.
Adam, that fine ditty by Cascada made me remember a certain song that we heard at Louisville while we were checking into the arena, getting our bags checked. It's a song that has been in my head ever since that I will share with you now. A young lady was checking our bags and making sure that we were not a threat to anybody at Louisville. Nobody wants any questionable people there in that arena, the Yum Center. And this young lady had a walking stick. As she was checking Adam's bag, the walking stick, which she was not using at the time, but was propped up there next to her, tipped over and fell over. Adam's massive, work bag probably was part of the problem. He's like, ma'am, sorry. A lot of emotional tidbits in there. And then, Adam, she began to sing a song that I can only assume is a song that she made up. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to lie, it's fire. That song goes a little something like this. I drop my walking stick. 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 Now, Adam, I drop my walking stick has been in my head nonstop. You know this, like to the point where if there's some kind of hip beat that's playing, I'll start giving it a little remix. I'll be like, I drop my walking stick. Let's go now. Drop my walking stick. Here we go now. Drop my walking stick. Drop my walking stick. Adam, I can't get away from it. It's engulfed my thoughts.
I think people have to really understand that she was singing the song while checking Jones's.
Well, like
work
I was
bag
trying
and,
to be like,
to communicate with her.
I was like, should I go through this line? Can I go to that line? And she's just like, I drop my walking stick. I drop my walking stick.
And as far as I know, like we walked away and she just kept singing it. There was no sign that it was going to stop.
It was all, from my experience, it was all she was capable of saying.
Right.
Drop my walking stick. Here we go now.
Well, I think many people would have just picked up the walking stick without composing a song about it.
Yeah.
That's what makes her great, I guess.
Yep.
Take an everyday thing, you turn it into an unforgettable composition.
I drop my walking stick. I can't wait for the day that it's not in my head, but I'll be a little sad as well.
But you know that every time you go to the Yum Center from now on, when it's time to go through security, it's going to be right back in there.
I'm going to think two things. I'm going to think I dropped my walking stick, and look at all those banners that Luke Hancock put up.
Speaking of Louisville, and I had this on the list, a good Big Grits moment in that game when he clearly had watched the Roadhouse Challenge with Dirty Dancing.
Perfect. Slightly confused Big Grits moment.
I can't remember what he was talking about that brought this to the surface. But I do remember that at one point, he very clearly told us with a bit of a tone of, of anger almost, that nobody, Jones, not you, not me, nobody.
Not Corey Alexander.
Not the lady with the walking stick. Nobody puts baby in a closet. Woo. I don't think that's the exact line, but the imagery is powerful.
Yeah, that's right.
Do not put baby in that closet.
No.
Partially because that may be a felony.
Yeah, there could be some severe repercussions.
That's
for everybody involved.
That's too harsh. It's okay to attempt to put baby in a corner, but you should not even try to put baby in the closet. She can't get in there. She's carrying that watermelon. There's no room for her in that closet. So just remember, when Armando Bacot rejects Jeremy Roach's drive into the lane, I expect Jones's call to be, Bacot with the block. Nobody puts baby in a closet.
Caleb Love with the crossover. Oh, poor Jeremy Roach. He's just he's on the back end of all our examples here. Caleb Love with the crossover. Oh, down goes Roach. Eric looks like he dropped his walking stick. Drop my walking stick. All right, let's get to our interview with Jackie Manuel. This is an awesome interview. Jackie Manuel is awesome. We can talk about anything with Jackie Manuel. It'll be awesome. But especially when we're talking Tar Heels, and that's what we're doing now. So we're going to go to that, come back, 5-second challenge. We have story times. We have an all-time. I think, Adam, and I don't even want this, behind the original, I don't even want this. Dickie V did not want that salad without any utensils. We all understand this. This might be just, you can't be the best because you're not the original, but I think this is right there.
It's like in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Do they still have that?
Yeah.
You've got the definition that's number 1.
Right.
This
got
is
1A.
This is a strong number 2.
Yeah. Okay. So that's all coming too. But let's get to our conversation with Jackie Manuel first, here on the Carolina Insider.
Everyone listening to this has their own special reason why they love Jackie Manuel. National champion, member of one of the most beloved 4-year classes in Tar Heel basketball history, dunked on Julius Hodge. But I got to tell you, at our house, he's best known as the best Girl Scout cookie salesman in all of Orange County, baby.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I do, baby.
Your tag-alongs just taste better when you get them from Jackie Manuel. That's just a fact.
Hey, anybody want some tag-alongs, please email me.
jmanuel@unc.
So, Jackie, thanks for taking a break from your cookie sales to come be with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's been a good week for the Tar Heels. That was an eventful game on Tuesday night. How did it look from where you were sitting?
Whew, that was a rough one. But I've been a part of a lot of games like that, and I haven't been on the winning side, so I'll take the win any night. And that's how I looked at it. I'm like, hey, we played bad, didn't shoot the ball well, easy shots that we normally make, but I don't care. I'll take the win. That environment was amazing.
Let's take a step back. Can you kind of explain, just if somebody doesn't know, kind of your role on the team, what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and how you're trying to help the Tar Heels?
Well, my title is player and team development. But for me, it's making a positive impact on our guys every day, and that's different every day. You know what I mean? They're going through different things in their life. And so when they come to the Smith Center, you start having conversations and dialogues with them, and from there, I just
adjust.
So it could be anything about what's going on, personal life. It could be academically, basketball. I just try to give them my wisdom, the things that I went through, that I've learned, and then help them try to apply that in their life. So,
as you've gotten to know these guys more over these last few months, how have you learned more about what each of them needs and how you best connect with them?
They need love. They all need love. They all need encouragement, and to be told that they're doing a great job. But on top of that, they all need that sternness, that, hey, you got to do this the right way, the discipline. And I try to provide that. And I think everybody on our staff, it's not just me, but we try to provide them with the things that they need. It's funny, they've given me a nickname because of there's times I could be stern, with quotations. Sergeant Manuel is what they call me. And it's like, no, man, I just love you. I just want to see you do well. And so that's the focus and mindset when I see those guys every day.
So what's something you've had to be stern about? What's something that makes Sergeant Manuel come out?
Oh, the locker room. They like the locker room. And the reason why is because it's a extension of not only the players, but our program. You can have a recruit coming in one day and they walk in that locker room, and on one site, if it's not good, it's like, hey, why would I come there? Or why would I go there? So just locker room and just how they carry themselves. Like, if you consider yourself a champion, and like carry yourself like a champion. If you whatever you envision yourself being, that's how you should carry yourself. So really try to challenge them in that aspect of just being better every day. Not being perfect, but just try to be a little bit better every single day.
This is totally my opinion, so tell me if I'm wrong, which I'm wrong all the time. It seems like Coach Davis has approached this kind of as a team effort from the staff perspective. Like, I mean, obviously he's the head coach, but it seems like, at least in comparison to what we have seen in the past, it's very much everybody has a pretty active role in what is happening on a day-to-day, almost hour-by-hour basis. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, and it it's Coach Davis and I have these conversations about just the first year. You're trying to figure things out, and
Sure.
you can't have your hands on everything. So it's important to have people with you that you trust and that they're going to do their job and do it really well. And I think Coach Davis is really great about that. Just delegating what needs to be delegated and and having the confidence that everybody will get the job done. And so I think nowadays, especially in our sport, I would say it's bigger than just basketball. It's, you're having so many moving parts that you need people all working together, all on the same page, helping you in that process. And I think Coach Davis obviously has that figured out with playing with the teams that he's played on and the success that he's had and working at ESPN. So he's done a great job.
Did you guys know each other, you and Coach Davis, well before you got here?
Yes, I used to work his camps.
Okay. So how have you seen him change through these couple of months as he's been going through it for the first time?
Just you get comfortable. You get, you get so many reps every day of different things that, you just start to get comfortable in of what needs to be done and how those things need to be executed. And I think that's what's going on. It's a process. It's a maturation process that when I worked for Coach Miller, he went through the same thing, and Coach Loddick at Valpo and Coach McGrath. Like, it's just a process of, like, you go into it and you just don't know what to expect.
Sure.
And after a few months, you're like, okay, you get your little routine. Like, this is what it is, and okay, how can we improve this? How can we keep this moving in the right direction? So
Tuesday night, Caleb had a rough few minutes, we all thought. And as things were sort of unraveling and like the lights were flashing and just things were going nuts, we looked over there during a timeout and you kind of had your arm around him and were talking to him.
Yeah.
How do you figure out what the message is he needs at that moment, and what was the message?
Part of it's feel. It's just a feel, and it's it's something you just see, and okay, let's try this. Part of it's just understanding Caleb, and that's the one thing, again, from a player development, is I'm all about energy, connecting the energy, and so being in tune to each player and their needs emotionally. And I know the look on Caleb's face it tells me everything. In that moment, he needed a pat on the back, but he also needed to understand, like, that's done. Whatever just happened, it's done. Move on. Get back into the flow of the game. Because as a young player, the reason that young players struggle is because they are out of the flow. There's something in that moment that distracts them, and now they're like out for a couple minutes. So I was just telling them, man, get back in the flow. Like, don't predetermine what you're going to do. Just let it happen. Go out there and just play to win.
I think there's people who have this gift for, like, okay, if my team's down 1 and we've got the ball with 3 seconds left, I can draw up something and we'll get an awesome shot, which you probably can do too. But how did you figure out that you have this knack for figuring out what the best way is to connect with people? Like, how did you begin to notice that you understood this?
Well, I thank God for the gift. But it's something I've had for a long time, ever since I was a young kid. Like, I just had a a gift for like being empathetic and understanding or trying to understand how others felt and really being in tune to watching someone's energy and emotions and seeing how they're feeling. And I'm a natural problem solver. So I want to make everybody feel good. I want to make everybody have a wonderful experience and life experience. So and that's just really, I think about 5 years ago or so, I've really been intentional and been in tune into that. 'Cause I never thought about it. It just is what it is, when you're a young person.
And you talked I think, a little bit about this when you mentioned the Sergeant Manuel and all that. Yeah. How do you ride the line of you're still relatively close to these guys in age? And
He is their age.
Yeah, I know.
He
I know.
played a couple years ago.
I know.
I remember.
In my mind, Jackie's 20 years old forever. How do you ride that line of we're peers and I'm your friend and I can talk to you, but also, hey, I'm also in a authority position here and you need to listen to what I'm saying. Does that question make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's different factors. One is I always look at what are your goals? Like, what do you want to do? All right. That's one.
Yeah.
The second thing is I know what you're going to confront when you leave here. So what I'm trying to do to help you on a daily basis is help you reach that goal, but also try to help you prepare for
right
what you're going to face when you leave college. Like it's real life. And so at the end of the day, as much as I love them, to me, what's important is helping them become better, helping them be prepared for life. And I feel like they're starting to understand that. Like, I'm not a mean guy. I'm just trying to help you so when you leave here, you're like, okay, at least I've heard that or I dealt with that. And then on the flip side, it's like I do want them to have a good time. I do want them to have good experience. So it's also important for me to connect with them and on a different level than just being the angry person. Because there's a different way of getting to know them. And so there's a little bit of balance thing. You always probably lean to one side, maybe too much. That's just life. But like, I just try to find a balance of that and just understanding that.
What was your, I've graduated from college, holy Moses, now I'm in real life moment? Did you have one of those?
Yeah, it happened right away. I don't know if you guys remember that I broke my foot at the pre-draft camp. And then I spent the whole year working at Chapel Hill Sportswear, which that helps me to help them. Like, that helped me so much. At the time, it was just like, man, this is tough watching my teammates, whether they were playing in the NBA or my teammates that were still here having success. And, I was folding shirts. So, who does the laundry in the house.
Rhonda's like, you have experience.
No, but it helped me because it's like you just never know what life may throw at you. So just be prepared to, to deal with some adversity and be able to overcome. And, well, how do you do that? If you've never had to. So just trying to challenge them in that way and then get them to understand your habits and discipline is what's going to get you through. Your perseverance is what's going to get you through.
At the state game, I happened to walk through the hall when you and Matt Daugherty were saying hello.
Yes.
In an incredibly friendly way, the way that all the members of the Carolina family do. I wonder what you learned from that relationship that helps you be better at your job today, but then also like how it's helped you tell your kids how to relate to people.
Yeah, I mean, we have a really good relationship. I want to say it was maybe last spring that him and I talked, and we had wonderful conversation, and I was asking him questions about recruiting and coaching, and so it was good to see him and see his wife, and but I learned a lot. We're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, and I made mistakes, and I was young and immature, and I'm sure Coach Doherty would say the same thing. But what I learned in that situation is I think Coach Doherty's heart and his intentions were in the right place. I really, he wanted to win. He's a competitor. But for me, I'm similar in the fact I'm very competitive and I want to win. But again, I want to know from each kid, what are your goals? Like, what do you want to do? Because I'm not going to, if you say I want to not play basketball and I want to do something else, I'm not going to push you to be this great basketball player. What I'm going to tell you is use the things in basketball, whether that's being a good teammate, the routine, the habits, to help you in the thing that you want to do, once you figure that out. So that's the one thing. And then the other is communicating to the guys, like, the reason that I'm doing this, it has nothing to do with my personal gain. It's all for your benefit. That whether we're laughing and joking, whether we're, working or academically, whatever it is, I'm doing it because I care about you, I love you, and I want to see you do well. So, like, when you present it that way, like, the kids don't look at it and they don't get so defensive, because we get it. We all get defensive when we feel like we're being attacked, or we, whatever it is, the flight, or fight mode, So I think I learned that from just being in the situation with Coach Doherty and, my teammates. Like, he wasn't a bad guy. It's just, he's trying to figure out as a young coach, and, with the pressures that he had. So
Jackie Manuel, the player, needed Jackie Manuel, the
Yeah,
state.
that's right. Yeah.
Like you needed now Jackie.
We
to
needed
talk to
15
players.
years later, Jackie, to help him when he was playing.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm sure we're going to touch on this, but talking to Leaky, I said, Leaky, the things that you're going through, like, I've gone through those, and I just didn't have anybody to help me through those things. So it's like trial and error for me. Like, trying to figure things out mentally. And I said, the great thing about it, because you're trying to learn and figure things out, it forced you to do things that you probably wouldn't do. And so one of my things was I just never read. Reading wasn't a thing for me. Just on my own, right, outside of school. And now my wife is like, man, who is this guy that that I've married? Like, because, I finished one book, I started another one. Like, whether it's YouTube or something, I'm always looking for knowledge, even from my guys or from my staff, always seeking knowledge, because I know what that did for me in my time of needs. It just helped me get through certain moments that were very difficult.
All right, well, why don't we mention Leaky, because he mentioned you and how helpful that relationship has been. Obviously, he's been playing terrific basketball here all season, but particularly here in the last couple of games. Walk us through a little bit that relationship and what's working for Leaky right now.
Well, I told Leaky a couple of weeks ago that I prayed for the moment, and I envisioned the moment of us working together, not knowing that it would actually happen. And this was about 2 years ago. And I said, Leaky, I just don't know, like, God made it happen, created the path and for us to connect. And we're here today. And it was just, I think it was a warm feeling for him to know that, like, oh, I'm not in this by myself. Like, after hearing my story, I told him, and he was like, oh, wow, you too? I was like, yeah, me too. the whole Speedo guy. I know it's the time for it. The whole Speedo guy, missing free throws. Yeah, Speedo guy, distraction. But a big part of that was my anxiety, and I struggle with that when I was playing. And when I got to the free throw line and I was nervous, I was tense, I was stiff, and all these different things. And there was points where I was just hit the rim, just hit the rim. And I told Leaky this story. I said, Leaky, it wasn't until I want to say I was done playing that I stopped having dreams about failing, about shooting air balls. It was that bad. My anxiety was that bad that I would have dreams playing basketball and I couldn't do anything right. And he was like, really? I was like, yeah. I was like, but it was one of those things that I had to figure out and try to overcome, and the help of my wife and praying and prayers and my family. And so with Leak, it's just like the one thing that I've done is I've thrust myself into that, head on. So whatever it is that you're struggling with, don't shy away from it, because when you go head on, you're going to fail, right? But you're going to grow and you're going to learn from that, and you're going to realize that when you come out, you're going to be stronger and you're going to be better, and then you're going to be even more prepared to deal with the next thing. And, that's what happened to me, and that's what, I'm trying to share with him. And then along the way, as I continue to grow and develop and learn, it's sharing those little nuggets with him, and, of being just, breathing, meditating, something that I've tried to do before, and I just didn't understand how to do it. And the last probably month or so that I've been meditating and getting Leaky to do the same, it's been beneficial from him, and me as well. So just not letting those thoughts, get you worked up and control your breathing. So, one thing about, and I'm sure Leaky can talk about this, but one thing about the anxiety, it doesn't go away. It's there. It's about controlling it as you get older and as you understand what you're dealing with. And so I still deal with it, but I have certain things that I do to control it.
There was a lot of good stuff there. It seems like ever since Leaky got here, people who know you, even before you were back, have said, well, all we need Leaky to do is just be Jackie Manuel.
Right.
Why won't Leaky be Jackie Manuel? And it's like it was never explained to him in a way that connected with him.
Yeah.
Kind of what would make Carolina the best version of Carolina. When did you start to see signs that he was understanding what you were telling him and that whatever you were doing was connecting with him?
I mean, I saw it early. I saw it from our relationship. I should say in the summer, we started, talking in the summer, and I saw he was like really wanting that. And so it just gradually progressed. But the one thing I shared with Leaky, and I wanted him to really understand this. I said, Leaky, I don't care what type of basketball player you become. I don't care about that. I care about you, and I love you. That's what I care about. So you can make 15 jumpers or you can make 0 jumpers. I don't care. I just want you to be the best version of yourself. All right? Because I know when you're dealing with that type of anxiety, the pressures and the expectations that could wear on you. So I told him, I don't care. I don't care. If you don't want to do this ever again after you're done, awesome. I love you still. I just want you to go out and have fun, enjoy yourself. That's all I care about. And I think that conversation, and we probably had that a few months ago, kind of really flipped the switch for him. And it's just like, it's bigger than basketball. Like, yeah, I want to win. When I get between the lines, it's I want to win and compete. But, like, it's bigger than that. I want you to leave here and be prepared for the next journey. And I want to help you. And again, it's not just me, it's our whole staff, it's our whole program. We want you to have the tools that you need to help you. And that's different for everybody. Everybody's on a different journey. And for Leaky, it's the things that we are communicating about.
Can, in a college basketball landscape where a lot of teams are just getting they're just bringing in as many dudes as they can do for 1 year, and they're just trying to win that 1 year, and then they're going to reset it, and they're going to do it again, and it's all about winning that year and then moving to the next one. Can it still work this way? I mean, because I think Carolina's path has always been a much longer play and things that you're talking about. Can Carolina still compete in that top 5-10, but do it this way, in your opinion, compared to some other teams considering the current landscape of the sport?
I mean, you can do it in so many different ways, so it's not just one way, but it's the most effective way for how we want to do things. Like, that's what you're trying to figure out. What's the way that we can be impactful on and off the court, that we can win games and pour into these young men. What's the best way to do that? And then let's go execute that. I think that's the important piece, and everybody's got their own philosophy about that. And we have ours. And so again, Coach Davis has done a great job because he understands how he wants to do it and what impact that he wants to make. And so it doesn't matter. Really, it doesn't matter what kid you bring in, transfer portal, high school kid, because you're going to impact them all the same, whether it's 1 year, 3 years, or 4. Like, they're going to get something out of this journey that they're on. Mm-hmm. And that's going to prepare them for the next one.
Do you ever think about how not just your basketball, but your life would be different if there had been the transfer portal in, say, 2002, 2003, somewhere in there?
Yeah. It would have been tough, but our generation.
Yeah,
sit right here on this rocking chair next to me.
Come on.
There we go.
Come to the old side of the table.
38 years old, our generation. Things were different. Times were a little bit different. Transferring, it happened, but it wasn't a thing.
Right.
You transfer and you disappeared, right? People are like, where did he go? And for like all college players, you're trying to play in the NBA. And so if you're transferring back in 2003, you're basically off the radar. And now you got to rebuild this, brand or whatever it is, that people can say, okay, he left there, but he went here and he's a better player. So that wasn't a thing. And so because of that, our mentality was to stick it out until it got to a point where you just can't. I can't do this anymore. So that's different. Now it's, if it doesn't work out, maybe it's something better. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. It's just not a fit, and it's something better. But that may not be basketball. And I think that's the big picture thing. Something better, it's not so much basketball, because whatever you're doing at the first school, that's while you're not playing, if you go to the second school and you do the same thing, you're probably not going to play. But it could be a fit thing. It could be a philosophy thing. It could be like, I got to get closer to home, more of something like that than the basketball part. Because at the end of the day, and I learned this once I got into coaching, if you can play and you're good, coaches are going to get you on the floor, And if you're not, like, it's not the end all be all. Like, get in the gym, figure out what I need to work on, figure out what I need to learn, and start that process.
All right, Carolina's playing Duke this weekend. Give us some Jackie Manuel, Carolina Duke feelings, thoughts, memories, what it's like to be out there.
Listen, I can't wait. I mean, I wish I was playing because I know it's going to be a great game, and I know it's going to bring out the best of all players that are playing, coaching, and that's where you come to school here. That's why you go to Duke. To play in this game, right? And I just, we talked about Speedo guy earlier. We talked about, the shot the and one that Marvin got, senior year where this place was just rocking. Then moments where my freshman year where we're playing at Duke and Jason Williams, he has more points than our whole team. Like, the ACC tournament my freshman year where they thought they were going to blow us out and we made it a game, So, like, no matter who's ranked, who's not ranked, what players you have or whoever, like, it's going to always be a really good game. And so that's what I'm looking forward to. The great thing about it is I get a chance to sit on the bench again, witness it. Hopefully there's no last second shots like
right.
The Austin Rivers shot.
Yep.
Because that one was a dagger. that was a dagger. But looking forward to it, and then I know obviously it's Coach K's last game here in the Smith Center, and so it's a big deal. Like our guys get a chance to play in like moments like this. Like everybody can't say that, so it's a special thing.
Real fast before we let you go, Coach Williams was honored the other day at halftime of the state game. I know you guys were busy, but looking back on it, how meaningful was that for you as a former player to see him be able to get that kind of recognition?
It's well deserved. He's worked so hard and he's done it the right way and just very genuine and authentic his whole career. And to see that type of work pay off, it sure meant a lot to him, and it means a lot because I know the process. I know the grind that it takes to do that year in, year out, 30-something years. And so to be able to be celebrated like that, it's a special thing for our program and for everybody who played for Coach Williams, and I'm sure for Coach and his family. So, and selfishly, the great thing for me is that I get to see Coach every day. So I'm picking his brain about all those things that got him to that point, that we did celebrate him, the NC State game at halftime.
Our interview with Jackie brought to you by the Independent Insurance Agents of North Carolina. Texting while driving takes your eyes off the road for about 5 seconds. And at highway speeds, that's like driving the length of a football field with your eyes closed. Trusted Choice Independent Insurance Agents of North Carolina want you to stay safe behind the wheel. Put down that phone while you're driving. Let's have a hands-free NC. Learn more, find an agent near you. Visit trustedchoice.com/goheels. Adam, 5-second challenge. I am asking the question. You are answering the question. Are you ready?
I hope so.
Okay, Adam, this one is not easy,
Oh, good.
but I think it will prompt some fun discussion when it's complete.
After you get 0,
Yeah.
we'll have fun talking about
Yeah.
it.
Tar Heels play Duke this weekend, Adam.
Okay.
Tar Heels, Blue Devils, Smith Center, 6 o'clock. Tar Heels Sports Network airtime, 5 o'clock Saturday. Adam, it's a very simple question. Can you tell me, Adam, In the history of the Carolina-Duke rivalry, from the Carolina perspective, which individual player has the most points versus Duke in a game, rebounds versus Duke in a game, assists versus Duke in a game, blocks versus Duke in a game, steals versus Duke in a game? Again, very difficult question. I think if you get one or two of these, you've done well. We're looking for the individuals that have the highest point total against Duke, rebound total against Duke, assist, block, and steals against Duke as well. Adam, you only have 5 seconds to get these answers. And your 5 seconds start now.
Assists, I'm going to go Kendall Marshall. Rebounds, I got to go Billy Cunningham, even though I want to say Sean May.
Time.
Son of a gun. 5 seconds is not a lot of time.
No. That's how... Think about what Adam just said. It's not a lot of time. But when you're checking your phone, sure, you think, oh, I'm not distracted. It's just a couple seconds. You just drove the length of a football field with your eyes closed, everybody. Okay, so Adam, you didn't really get anything right. That's okay. As I said, this was a hard question. This was more to prompt discussion post-question. Okay. Let's start with points, Adam.
Okay.
Most points ever scored by a Tar Heel against Duke. Same point total, which is 40, has been done twice. I'll give you the year, see if you can give me the answer. First time it happened was March 1st, 1957.
Then I would go Lenny Rosenberg.
You would be correct. This one, not that it would have been easy to get in the 5-second challenge, but I think when I tell you the date, you'll have a chance to get it. March 8th, 1969 ACC championship game.
Was it Charles Scott?
It was indeed Charles Scott. All-time performance, legendary Tar Heel performance with 40. Okay. Rebounds. Adam, a very smart play saying Billy Cunningham. If you'd have stuck with your heart, though, you'd have gotten this right. 24 on March 6, 2005 by Sean May. Now, are the Billy Cunningham rebound box scores 100% accurate, complete, and correct? We don't know. We do know this. Sean May pulled down 24 in that game in 2005. All-time performance by a Tar Heel there.
I should have just stuck with him. And of course, you know he had 24, but I thought surely the Kangaroo Kid, who doesn't like being the Kangaroo Kid,
right,
he probably got 33 or something.
Assists. 2 people had 13 against Duke. Kendall Marshall, not one of them. Although, again, Adam, a very educated guess. Like, your guesses were not bad.
I'm going to say Adam Boone.
I'll give you the dates. We'll see how you do.
Okay.
March 3rd, 1984.
Someone had 13 assists in 1984?
Duke. Yep.
Was it Steve Hale?
It was Steve Hale, Adam.
What a game for him.
Matched on March 4th, 2000 by
Ed Cota.
Ed Cota, also with 13 assists versus Duke.
See, and when I was thinking Cota for that one, I was thinking more like 98.
Right. You always forget 2000 Ed Cota. Ed Cota hasn't forgotten.
That's right.
But I think a lot of Tar Heel fans forget 2000 Ed Cota, where he was the best player on the team. Well, Joe Forte was good, too.
A lot of those 13 to Joe Forte, probably.
Yeah. Block shots, Adam. 7 of them, March 8th, 2008.
John Henson?
Too early for John Henson.
Oh, yeah, that's too early for John Henson. I'm sorry. Brandon Wright. That's too late for Brandon Wright.
Yep. This is like we're playing Wordle. You've got a couple of the letters right.
I play that. Who would have got Tyler Hansbrough?
Former podcast guest, Danny Green, with 7 blocks on March 8th, 2008 against the Blue Devils.
6 from behind after his man had gone past him. And then he came from behind and boom.
That was Adam who said that, DG, not me.
He knows that he was the artist in that category.
Adam steals, last one.
Danny Green. I would not have guessed that, obviously.
No, I wouldn't have either. March 3rd, 1979, with 7 of them.
Dudley Bradley?
That's right. Dudley Bradley.
The Secretary of Defense.
For bonus points, Adam, they also here in our big book of Tar Heel facts have the most amount of three-pointers made against the Blue Devils? The answer is 6 in a single game by 2 different Tar Heels. Would you like me to give you the dates and see if you can guess them?
Sure.
March 8th, 1992.
Hubert Davis.
That's right. Equaled on February 8th, 2018 by
Joel Berry.
Kenny Williams.
Oh, Kenny Williams.
Kenny Williams. Kenny Williams.
That's right. Oh, that was a fun one.
Yeah. So, as I said, difficult one. More fun just to go back and think about all those terrific performances postscript. Heels will need maybe not 40 points from somebody, but they'll need some good performances this weekend.
6 3-pointers would be fine.
And possible. Brady Manick, just get that shoulder loose. Leaky Black, get in that corner.
Which one of those? Not in the closet.
Nobody puts Leaky in the corner. Except for that's where we want Leaky because he can drill it.
If you could only pick one of those to be broken on Saturday that you think would be most beneficial to the Tar Heels, what would it be? Drop my walking stick.
Drop my walking stick. Adam, it might be the threes.
That's what I think too.
Might be the threes.
The only thing
I could say rebounds.
I was going to possibly say if Caleb Love hands out 14 assists, I'm feeling pretty good about things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true too. What if Caleb Love has 42 points, 8 block shots, 14 assists, makes 7 3-pointers, and 9 steals? I think the Tar Heels might win. All right, let's get to our Champions Watch. Brought to you by UNC Health, dedicated to caring for champions of all kinds and to help keep you in the game and at your very best. Where might you see their lineup, you ask? UNChealthcare.org/sports. UNChealthcare.org/sports. Adam, what else is going on in Tar Heel land?
Women's tennis on Saturday. We've told you about their success in the ITA indoors. That's not this weekend. This is the break weekend. But they go to Michigan on Saturday at noon. Michigan's in the top 20 nationally, so that should be a good match.
Okay, Adam, we do have a lot of other things to do. Do you have a little Sebastian list to add to this?
Yeah, just a very quick little Sebastian list.
What's on the top of Adam's list?
Up in horsey heaven, here's a thing.
Brought to you by Top of the Hill,
You trade your legs for angels' wings.
where Tar Heels come to celebrate.
Once we've all said goodbye, you take a running leap and
Jones, are you going to put the music in there? Because the people get upset when you don't.
Did I forget to do it one time?
Yeah. We got a tweet or something about it.
I forgot to put the little Sebastian song in there. I challenge that.
Okay.
I have thrown the red flag onto the field, challenged the assertion that I didn't put the little Sebastian song in.
Okay. Maybe it was taken out and replaced with a really loud ad.
Yeah.
What people did love was when you warned them about the ad.
Oh, I got a great idea, Adam. Before you start this little Sebastian list, let's all look, it's been a journey here through the first hour 15. So let's everybody just chill out for a second. I'm going to play an ad. Now, just know that ad is solely the responsibility of Adam. He's the only one who wants to do it. He wants to turn it up louder. He has complete control of the volume of it. Just know that. So, Adam, why don't you now get to your list?
Just a couple things. Really good story on ESPN this week about Walker Miller, who's having great success at Monmouth, and he was on the pod on January 29th, 2021. So almost exactly a year ago.
Yeah.
And that was a fun interview. So as he's having good success, worth going back and listening to that one. And then take a look forward on the calendar. Cole Anthony's going to be in the dunk contest, one of just 4 players that'll participate in that on February 19th. So that's still a couple weeks away, but looking forward to seeing that because he is a very athletic dunker, and we know he's got some flair, which helps you in the dunk contest. So I think he's got a chance to win that. Obi Toppin's in it, though, and everyone loves him,
Yeah, he's a good dunker, too.
which tends to help in the dunk
Yep,
contest.
that's positive if you are a member of the dunk contest competition group.
And then the last thing, Brent.
Oh, this really is a little Sebastian list.
I told you. Brent Hood sent a direct message in which he reminded us that Jeff Goodman had done his arena rankings and ranked the Yum Center environment above the Smith Center, and just wanted to know what we thought of that. And I would say that it basically confirms everything I thought about those rankings when they were first done.
Yes, including who did the rankings.
Right. Yeah, everything about it. I believe that everything that occurred exactly the way it did for the reasons that it did. And does it change my opinion at all? No.
Adam, so we've got a bunch of listener submissions that we want to get to as part of the pod today. That includes T.R. Amrine sending one in and said he'd personally appreciate our reaction to Leakey's post-game comments after the Louisville game regarding the progress he's made on his mental health. TR said he found this acknowledgement inspiring. He says he knows we had a pod back in October with Dr. Shannon, spent a good deal of time on the topic of athletes and their mental health, but as someone who's recently had a major crisis with someone close to me related to this, TR Amrine says it's been particularly impactful. He says, I don't think we can ever talk too much about these things, especially in light of the last couple of years. Per TR, so proud of Leakey and will admit that he himself, TR, has found himself in a gnarly place of seeing him and other Carolina young men and women through the myopic lens of their sport, forgetting, as sometimes we like to remind everybody and remind ourselves, that we're only seeing these folks for a couple hours a week. Always remember Leakey's bravery to share this struggle when I feel that happening again, from TR. And, you know, we talked to Jackie about it some, and Jackie was much more eloquent and much more major player in these discussions with Leakey than you and I are. But Adam, a courageous thing for Leakey to open up about. It's clearly something, it appears, that has helped him both personally and with his performance on the court. And great to see that he's making some progress with something that is a challenge for lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of people.
And if you ever, for any reason, had any doubt that mental health in some way is part of being at peak performance on the court, I think the Leaky Black example is the one that ought to persuade you forever that those two things are closely related, and that when you're feeling good about things off the court, you tend to produce better on the court.
Well, and to hear Jackie say, you know, he was using that Speedo guy example. That's, the guys there at Duke wearing his Speedo. So funny. But that Jackie was, not because of Speedo guy, was in a whole different way. He was like, I'm just trying to hit the rim. I mean, to hear that from someone who is obviously a very high-level basketball player, that is, again, just something to keep in mind, that you don't always know what's going on all the time.
And I think sometimes it's really easy to watch a game and you can identify, that player's not playing with much confidence right now.
Yeah.
You can see it, but you don't know where it comes from. And figuring out where it comes from is a big part of being able to play with more confidence.
Okay, Adam, we have a lot of different directions we can go here. We've got a Duke-specific story time that we've been holding on to for a couple of weeks.
I think we should end with that.
End with that.
As a salute, as our gift to the Blue Devils.
All right, so why don't we get to this? I don't even want this. This, Adam, is an electric, I don't even want this. And Matt Seals, who sent this in, Matt, I want you to know that when I read this, as I do every single email that we receive from start to finish, Matt, I gave it a hearty chuckle sitting there by myself in the car looking at my phone.
While I was in a parking lot.
I was parked. Don't you worry. I was parked. But I read it. I read it because I started reading it, and let's be honest, most times I go, okay, and then I leave. But for this one, Matt had me hooked, and I start to finish, and when we get to the punchline, I thought, oh, Matt Seals, you rascal. You have sent in a terrific email that we will be reading on the pod. So I don't even want this, right? If you're new, the parameters of I don't even want this are, in general, it is something you do want. I do want this, but there's some extenuating circumstances that make me not want it anymore. This all stems from Tar Heel basketball lore of Dickie V after calling a Tar Heel game, had his personal assistant give him a salad. But the problem was the personal assistant forgot the plasticware. Dickie V, as we know, first-class gentleman, was a little bit hot at this moment, flipped the salad away and said he didn't even want it. I don't even want this, baby. So, that's the background for Matt's I Don't Even Want This. Not a story time. Don't worry. Mr. Goose Honkers is doing yoga over there in the corner. He's going to come out in a minute for our story. This isn't I Don't Even Want This. Matt says this. Jones and Adam, apologies, as I have been meaning to send you this I Don't Even Want This for almost a year now. My kids and I are loyal pod listeners. What up, Matt Seal's kids? With each episode, they ask me if I've submitted my I Don't Even Want This. Given Dickie V's ongoing health issues, I don't feel like I should wait any longer. By the way, what up, Dickie V? Keep fighting. We love you.
Out for the year with some vocal cord issues, but says he plans to be back next year, and we hope so.
Matt's I Don't Even Want This starts Christmas Day 2020. Rather than exchanging gifts with my in-laws, we decided to exchange COVID, per Matt. The 5 members of our household each eventually tested positive, one after the other, and with each positive test, the quarantine clock restarted. We ended up being stuck in the house for most of the month of January. Thankfully, my 3 kids and I never had any significant symptoms. Unfortunately, Matt's wife, Katrina, possibly the finest name in pod history as far as we're concerned.
See you later, Big Grit.
Had a more severe case, which she battled for a number of days. Whether by coincidence or not, Katrina's most acute symptoms occurred on the night of January 5th at the exact time the Heels were fighting their way to a much-needed win against Miami. I felt that I was showing an acceptable level of care and empathy during the commercial breaks. But Katrina disagreed, suggesting that I should turn off the game and focus on her. Needless to say, the TV was still on when Andrew Platek made the game-winning shot.
Platek in the right corner, drives baseline, floats it up and good with 3.5 to go. Miami out of timeout, tries a 3/4 court shot that hit the rim, but is no good. The Tar Heels somehow get out of Coral Gables with a 67-65 win. This time it's Andrew Platek with the bucket right before the buzzer.
I'm Andrew Platek. See you later, Big Grits.
While Dick Vitale bemoaned Miami's bad luck, I turned to Katrina to see how I could help. She was sleeping peacefully and thankfully was on the road to recovery. Well, in the coming weeks, she mentioned my lack of attentiveness to everyone who would listen, while I defended myself by suggesting Katrina might have been exaggerating her symptoms as a test of my priorities. A gutsy move by Matt, may I say.
To just make the suggestion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As weeks passed, the subject came up less and less. I thought she had forgotten about this unfortunate situation. Well, fast forward to Matt's birthday in March. Katrina and the kids, what a thoughtful gift, gave Matt what he thought was a very sincere gift, a copy of Dickie V's book, The Mount Rushmore of College Basketball. This is the book that Dick Vitale wrote in 2018. The cover has Dean Smith and Roy Williams on the Mount Rushmore next to 2 other jokers. Side note, Dickie V donated all the proceeds from the sale of the book to the V Foundation to fight childhood cancer. Dickie V, as he has been from the very beginning, #SoClassy. Matt was very grateful for such a thoughtful gift. Then they let me know there was a further surprise. Katrina had gotten Dickie V to sign the book. So Matt immediately turned to the inside cover to read the following inscription, and I quote, "Matt, when your wife is sick with COVID, please turn off basketball. Dick Vitale, Hall of Fame 08." Matt hooked us up with a photo of the inscription, which there it is. We're reading it right here. Very nice penmanship, by the way, from Dickie V.
Dickie V underlined please and wrote off in all caps.
Matt reminds us, whereas I do want to read stories from Dickie V's 40 years broadcasting the best of college basketball while also supporting the fight against childhood cancer, I don't even want him taking my wife's side in a 20-year debate on whether there are more important things in life than sports. Even though he will clearly inscribe anything in order to sell the book, my prayers are still with Dickie V for a speedy recovery. Adam, just a terrific, I don't even want this from Matt Seals. Matt Seals, dare I say, that goes on the Mount Rushmore of I don't even want this.
And should be a reminder to all those folks who come up to us and say, like, I've got a story that my kids keep telling me to send in or something like that, but I just haven't gotten around to it. Look, you might be the Matt Seals of stories. That was a quintessential I don't even want this, and he had been trying to remember to send it to us for a year. Stop what you're doing right now. Send in your stories or other hilarious anecdotes to CarolinaInsiderPod@gmail.com because they're usually awesome.
Adam, even though that wasn't an official Mr. Goosehonker story time.
You've got the pen. Are you going to the sticky note?
I think Matt Seals' I don't even want this is now officially in consideration for potty discussion in the summer.
Well, in that case.
Yeah, and by the way, we got another story coming up that may also make its way to the list.
Well, and I think that could make this episode possibly a double potty because I think Jackie Manuel will be in contention for in the interview
I'm putting him on the list, Adam.
They're going on the official sticky note of potty contenders.
There it is, Adam.
Well, let's give a quick recap of what's there currently.
All right, this is what's currently on the list. Former player interviews, potential potty nominees.
Okay.
Willie Parker, Pete Chilcutt, Ryan Switzer, Jackie Manuel. That's currently on the potential nominees. This isn't the end-all, be-all. These are just ones that we think we need to revisit that for sure. Non-athlete interviews. I've got Billy Crudup. I've got Jim Hevner. I've got Dr. Gerald Bell. All solid choices. Current athlete interviews. I only have one on here right now, Adam, and it's Alyssa Usby.
I think Puff Johnson's got it.
Oh, Puff. Yep. Puff's going on there. Good call.
Alyssa Usby, a good candidate also.
Yeah.
Do you think Aaron Matson's sitting somewhere going, well, I got to go get on the pod so I can go collect my potty?
Yeah. As far as stories, we've got Matt Seals, I don't even want this. One more, which we haven't discussed yet, but I think could go, was Blake Winia's story about Mick Mixon and the drums.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just in the way it so perfectly captured everyone involved.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, look, again, this doesn't even guarantee that you're nominated, but it's the first step to getting nominated.
And it doesn't guarantee that we haven't forgotten one that when it comes time, we'll be like, oh, how do we not have that on the sticky note?
That's right.
But the sticky note, it keeps you right there in our forefront of our minds.
Yeah. Okay. Adam, I have to say, another story that has the possibility. Well, before we do that, we need to do an 82 story first before we do that. Okay, since we've already done a whole lot of other stuff, we're going to do a really short 1982 email. This one isn't even a full story, so it's just going to be a little short one.
It's a little Sebastian story.
Yeah. It comes from Neil Wessel. Neil said, "Gentlemen," who's he talking to, Adam? "Much like each of you, I've only heard stories about my activities on March 29th, 1982. However, Adam, I do think that Neil has a little caveat that makes this worth bringing up. Biggest thing for me, in the grand scheme of your life, Neil, I kind of agree with this.
I would put this at the top of the list.
I would say this is one of the biggest things that's ever happened for Neil. He was born. a few hours before tip-off. Neil, I got to tell you, without this one, the rest of the story is pretty incomplete. Neil was born a few hours before tip-off and thus watched from New Hanover Regional Medical Center with my mother. Now, here's where I have to give a little shout-out to Neil's family. My dad is rumored to have bailed on us to take in the game at a spot with better food and broader beer selection.
What doesn't have a broader beer selection than New Hanover Regional Medical Center?
I've got to think that's probably got the lowest possible beer selection.
Hey, Neil's family, if you're looking for a gift for Neil's dad, maybe you could get Dick Vitale to inscribe a book.
Yeah, that's right. I don't want to go through the rest of this because there's some low-key important information from Neil that's revealed in this email. I'm just going to say that Neil has embraced a couple of the key moments from the 82 championship game and incorporated it into his life moving forward. So, Neil, what up?
It kind of reminds
Neil's a championship game baby, Adam.
It kind of reminds me of how Ben Jones signed the board alias Cooter.
Yeah.
Neil also has an alias that stems from that night that's been very beneficial to him and probably will be again.
By the way, I'm scrolling down here to get to our story time to finish things up, and I just passed by Amy James's modeling job in her email. We haven't heard back.
Why not?
I don't know. So, Adam, to finish things up today, we go to longtime friend of the pod, Sean Patrizzi. Sean sent in an email for story time. Mr. Goosehunkers, you got to get loose. This is a long story. You're going to repeat yourself multiple times during this story, Mr. Goosehunkers. This story is titled, Coach K Totaled My Car. Comes from our friend Sean Patrizzi. And Sean's story starts like this. With K's farewell extravaganza in full swing, and Tar Heel fans and the rest of the non-horrible citizens of the world, those are Sean's words, already exhausted by the love fest, I thought it was time Joe and I, Joe is Sean's brother, shared the story of how Coach K totaled my very first car. In October of 2013, I was a young new college graduate who had just accepted his first real person job working for Wake Forest Athletics, the most unoffensive and everyone's second favorite ACC school, as Ed Southern points out. After using my parents' vehicles up to that point in my life, it was time to get my own car. I chose a beautiful used 2012 charcoal Toyota Corolla Sport. It was a sensible, no-nonsense beauty outfitted with a spoiler and everything. I named the small yet athletic and strong vehicle after a man who fit that description in his own right, Gio. Fast forward to February 2014. Tar Heel fans may instantly see where this story is headed. Sean was working and living in Winston-Salem, while Joe was working and living in Chapel Hill after also graduating the previous May. Sean and Joe are twins, right?
I think that's right.
We know they're bros. I think they're twins. I think that's right. February 12th started like many other Duke game mornings for Sean. Already slightly nervous / excited / terrified, the plan had been for Joe and Sean to meet halfway at an establishment in Burlington. An upstanding establishment, just not a sponsor, at least currently, of the Tar Heel Sports Network.
Sean's mom's going to be like, where were you boys?
Where?
Jones couldn't even say the name. That's how bad it was.
Where are the Patrizzi boys? I myself attended JMU, parentheses go Dukes, not Duke, and had never been to the best rivalry in all of...
Whoa, wait a minute. You skipped over some stuff.
Oh, whoops, sorry, everybody. I jumped a paragraph ahead. I told you it was a long one. Okay, Patrizzi boys meeting at establishment in Burlington. But as the weatherman had been calling for all week, a huge snowstorm started heading toward the triad that would blanket the triangle as well. The threat of winter weather that day led to some true Tar Heel magic. $60 tickets on StubHub, proud supporter of the Tar Heels, for a Carolina Duke basketball game, a price that had never and will likely never be seen again. Being Tar Heel born and bred but raised in Richmond, Joe was the only one of us who had been to a Carolina Duke game when he was a student. As I said earlier, Sean attended JMU and had never been to the best rivalry in all of sports, having only witnessed the great victories at the varsity and meeting Joe on Franklin Street afterwards. So at the drop of a hat, Joe and I pounced on the tickets, and my day instantly went from ordinary to what should have been the day I attended my first Carolina Duke basketball game. But as we all remember, that was not to be. When I told my great boss at Wake Forest I had tickets, he said, "Go ahead and take the rest of the day off so that Sean could leave right away, beat the weather." Sean did not even stop at home to change or gather anything for the night's stay. He just drove straight to Chapel Hill, a plan that I think makes a ton of sense when needing to make it to a game when winter weather is in the forecast. Well, to shorten the story, as we know by now, the game did not occur that night, as some of us are better planners or perhaps had a greater interest in being in the Smith Center that night in front of a uniquely loud crowd with predominantly students and rowdy fans like the Patrizzi boys gobbling up tickets. Though the Pittsburgh women's team could make it from Pennsylvania, Duke could not leave earlier in the day and make the 8-mile trip from Durham to Chapel Hill. Rumors even swirled that the bus had been seen on 15501 and decided to turn back to Duke. The following morning, the snow was still coming down heavy. However, I had Valentine's Day plans in Winston-Salem with my then girlfriend. She was very upset that we would not be together and was pretty daggum pushy for me to drive back, so I did. Needless to say, we are no longer together, but this story, Sean, I'm proud of you, buddy, is not about her. Leave it in the past. I saddled up in Geo for a long, slow drive back to Winston-Salem. The roads were completely covered in slick, but Sean, being the sensible driver that he is, kept a proper distance and drove very carefully to protect my pride and joy Corolla. At the exact same exit where the Patrizzi boys were supposed to meet the night before, he was cut off by a Mercedes with a, Adam, get this, Duke license plate. Sean had to brake faster than you should in a snowstorm and barreled into the concrete median. Spinning caused me to hit every side of the car and caused enough damage to total our sweet Geo just 5 months after purchasing the car. Sean was physically okay, but emotionally, his youthful innocence died that day. Was it Coach K in the Mercedes? Does Coach K have a Mercedes? Probably not. But at the same time, yes, it was definitely him. He me. Twice in a span of just about 12 hours. A week later, the tickets were still ours, and I got my revenge as the Tar Heels won in front of what has regularly been referred to as one of the loudest crowds in the Smith Center history. And Sean largely believes it is because young whippersnappers like Joe and Sean were sitting in the seats usually reserved for those who can only afford to see the Carolina Duke game, but may not care that much about the outcome. The Patrizzis rushed Franklin on what seemed like a mockingly warm February evening and had an incredible hashtag Tar Heel Bro Hug night. Forgot about hashtag Tar Heel Bro Hug. To this day, Sean cannot pass the Huffman Mill Road exit without cursing Coach K for killing off Geo. A month later, he got another 2012 Toyota Corolla and properly named him after another famous Tar Heel replacement who put in a valiant effort but just wasn't quite as good. Stillman. Go Heels. And as always, steer clear of the Mercedes with the Duke license plates. Adam, the Patrizzi boys never disappoint.
Every time. They bring it every time. And look, don't say we didn't give Coach K anything on his last visit to the Smith Center. He got to be one of the central characters in Friday's pod on the Storytime segment. Congratulations and thank you for your service.
Adam, do you have anything else?
No.
Carolina Duke on Saturday, 6 o'clock. We'll be on there at 5 p.m. from the Smith Center. We'll have a rapid reactions video pod after the game that will have interview with Hubert Davis, Adam's interview with a player, and more. Next week, we'll be here with our regular schedule. Tar Heels on the road against Clemson on Tuesday, and then at home for another big weekend game, this time against Florida State next week. But for now, let's let Jackie Manuel and the RZA get us out of here on the latest edition of the Carolina Insider.
I'm Jackie Manuel. See you later, Big Grits.
When I was small, we had nothing at all. We used to eat grits for dinner. Pound box of sugar and a stick of margarine. A hot pot of grits kept my family from starving. Steamy hot meal served less than 5 minutes. Big silver pot, boiling water, salt in it. House full of brothers and sisters, the pot's missing. Pilgrim on the box, on the stove in the kitchen. When I was small, we had nothing at all. We used to eat grits for dinner.
See you later, Big Grit.
The preceding has been a Learfield presentation of the Tar Heels Sports Network.